all expect the occasional hurricane, and some could be bad, to hit our state. But when you're talking about, Charlie and Jeanne and Francis all intersecting and not spread very far apart on the timeline. But all these systems have far-reaching effects more than simply, it's a category 2, category 3. They're so complicated. They all have their own personalities. Some are big rainmakers. Some, it's big storm surge. And I think we learned a lot that you don't necessarily need a Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5 to cause all kinds of problems.
That's the other thing is every one of them is different. If you got 6 things covered, it's going to throw a 7th at you.
And then we had Francis and Ivan and Jeanne, and it just seemed like Florida was a magnet for anything out there during that 6-week time period.
Francis, that was so much larger than Charlie. There wasn't a lot of nuance in the forecast. Like, it almost didn't matter. Well, it's going to weaken a little bit over land, but it was going to be this big rainmaker. We're just going to have widespread, moderate to strong tropical storm force winds, maybe hurricane force in eastern Polk County for a period of time. But it was just going to be a big duration, significant weather event as opposed to something that was going to be potentially catastrophic. Now, people in Polk County were still dealing with, trying to fix stuff, and power was still out in some areas and so on and so forth. So that made it a bit of a challenge.
It started off right. I mean, it was okay. We got our storm. We got our storm. Sea storm. Okay, here it comes, Charlie. And then it seemed like every other weekend that we were dealing with another storm, and you could see the fatigue here amongst the employees, amongst the other anchors. The reporters are going, when will this stop?
Yeah, it definitely was exhausting, and just having to go through it again and again in such a short period of time, and making sure that all of your family and friends understood the importance of making sure they were prepared for the next one and then the next one. It was, really taxing and pretty exhausting, but you had to punch through all of that decision fatigue and, disaster fatigue to make sure that you were safe and your friends and family were safe.
Yeah, what I remember is just really not getting a break for about 6 weeks. Of course, starting with the lead up to Hurricane Charlie, we went through all that fatigue. Another one's coming, and people here would say, no, that can't be. And, you're looking at the data going, yes, it's gonna happen. It's gonna hit somewhere in our state. It was exhausting.
It was just a busy time. It was a busy 6 weeks. It's constantly having to worry about, make sure your house is ready and prepare, get people to prepare. Don't let your guard down and stuff.
And I think what happens at that point is that the adrenaline kicks in, and you just keep, focusing on what you're supposed to do. Your job is to inform the public, stay, up to date with all the latest information coming from you guys, as well as the National Hurricane Center. And so you kind of block everything out. You put your blinders on, and your focus is on the people at home.
Being fatigued, working 3 storms is what the biggest thing the first thing that came out from everybody. Just knowing that the people who are in this building as well working, not knowing what their house looks like or being able to get a hold of their family, that takes a toll on them as well.
And a lot of fatigue. I think what we forget is that the mental aspect of worrying and here comes another storm, and some people deal with it fine. It's another storm, great, we'll have another party. Other people, it's an extremely stressful event, especially when you have kids.
Sometimes we're tracking something for a week. By the time it even gets near land, we're already exhausted because things have changed. We've been hearing the same name over and over again for a week. And it's a lot of anticipation. It's a lot of stress and anxiety for everybody here. And so our focus is to try to do our best job to let people know what the potential impacts could be, while also understanding that because it's something tropical, things can change.
Getting out there, talking to our residents, letting them understand that the price you pay for living in paradise is you have to be prepared for the eventuality of tropical weather in the form of tropical storms and hurricanes. It's a continual educational process as we get new residents. We have a lot of turnover here, and all of Southwest Florida, for that matter, of new residents retiring down here and are new to tropical weather and hurricane season, and getting that message across each and every year to those new residents.
We're here today, and we just hope that all of these lessons, I look at these hurricanes as being more lessons. We got through as bad as Ian was still a big lesson about how to deal with a big landfalling hurricane on our West Coast. And we try to get better from all those storms.
Just because you've been through a few hurricanes doesn't mean you've seen everything. That there are threats, there's threats associated with those storms that we haven't experienced here in Charlotte County, namely storm surge. That is something you have to be aware of. Not every storm brings all the threats to them, and not every location, and it only takes a small wobble for you to experience a completely different reality than a jurisdiction just to your south or north.
Not just to focus on the cone, because the impacts are felt outside of that cone. And it varies with each tropical storm, each hurricane. Everyone is different.
As much as you tell people what to expect, I don't think they really get it until they go through a hurricane event. It's also important to take these storms seriously, and they're no joke. And just deal with them in a mature way. I mean, if you're told to leave, leave. If you live on the coast and you live in an evacuation zone, get out.
Our basic theory is here, stay calm. I mean, do the right thing. Don't make bad decisions. And obviously planning is the number one thing. And